Welcome back to Geek Reviews. I'm your host, Michael Wilkerson, and this is going to be my review for Season 1, Episode 5 of Supernatural, titled Bloody Mary. This episode premiered back on October 11, 2005. It opens in Toledo, Idaho, as three young girls are playing Truth or Dare. Lily, one of the girls, is dared to say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of a bathroom mirror. The other girls scare her by banging on the door, and then Lily's father, Stephen Shoemaker, appears, tells them to be quiet. As he returns to his bedroom, a figure appears in every mirror he passes. When he looks in the bathroom mirror, his eyes start bleeding. His eldest daughter, Donna, later discovers him dead in a pool of blood. This I was kind of like, I felt bad for the young girl that was being like dared to say this. Also, I feel like the girls were a little cruel to her, being their friend. I get the intention behind it. This whole Truth or Dare game is the stepping point as to somebody dying, basically, and them saying Bloody Mary 3 times in front of a mirror, that type of thing. But I felt like it was cruel, especially because it was something that these girls knew nothing about, maybe that they read in some sort of like history book, chanting spell book, something type of thing. But they don't really have any reason just to do this other than it's just like it's supposed to be a fun and game for them. But when is like watching somebody die ever fun for a game? I don't really know. I felt bad for Lily because I don't think she should have done that, despite her getting a dare or whatever. Maybe they could have chosen a different dare or something. I don't know. I know that's not how the game works, but again, it just felt cruel, especially to a friend. Basically, back in the car, Sam wakes from another nightmare about Jessica, which he won't speak to Dean about, which was a nice little through line. This is something that's a common throughout this episode, that somebody basically chants this thing, and he won't basically speak to Dean about this whole nightmare situation. He blames himself for the cause of the death of her, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it's the same thing with Lily this episode. She blames herself for the death of her dad by chanting the spell. Same way Sam ends up waking from a nightmare. He won't tell Dean about it because he blames himself for the death of Jessica, which is out of his control. He and Dean visits the morgue and bribes the attendant so that they can view Stephen's body. While the cause of death is unclear, his skull was full of blood and his eyeballs had liquefied, which was a very gruesome, terrifying thing to witness. Visiting the Shoemaker's house following the funeral, Sam and Dean speak to Shoemaker's daughter, Donna, and her friends, Jill and Charlie. Lily reveals that she feels responsible for the death of her dad after invoking Bloody Mary, which again goes back to the idea I had earlier. The boys look for clues in the bathroom with Charlie finds them. They admit that there is something suspicious about Stephen's death, and Sam gives Charlie a cell number in case she thinks of anything helpful. I found it funny that Dean and Sam would lurk around a house, around people's like a person's house that they don't really know well, especially their daughters, that type of thing, and that they just don't. They need it, like, in my opinion, they need a better way for them to investigate their cases. Like, tell them that you're police, that type of thing, because those types of people, like the just normal civilians, will believe that type of thing if you have badges to back it up with. But if like you're working for, let's say, like the Homeland Security last episode, they're going to look into that type of thing, or like a park ranger in like episode 3 or whatever it was, like they're going to have some sort of evidence that you don't work for them as like that park ranger or a Homelander. This episode, I feel like they needed some sort of way to just get better about investigating and telling them who they are as people, because I feel like people don't know these people like understandably, so why would they let them into their house unless they were cops to investigate that type of thing? They do tell them that, but I find it still funny that Dean, it's like a character trait that they give, like even when he goes into the morgue, that he just walks in and he gets everything he pretty much wants. After like Sam bribes him or whatever, Sam bribes the security guard. It's funny to me because I feel like it's not that easy in the real world. Sometimes it is, but other times it takes an extra step, and all that kind of thing, which I found funny. Just something that to keep in mind, that they should just get better about doing their jobs and impersonating people, I guess I should say, if they're gonna if they have to impersonate these people. Um, Later that night, while on the phone to Charlie, Jill jokingly says Bloody Mary 3 times in front of a mirror, which, again, why would you do this? I started feeling like not too bad for Jill. She died. She jokes about it a little bit too much about this thing. I know she has no reason to believe, something sinister would happen or whatever to her, or something bad would happen. And that's the idea about these girls. That's why I don't love girls in horror, that type of thing. They've become idiotic, and I don't believe them as people. So basically, she starts bleeding and she ends up dying, basically, for her own good. As fucked up as that is to say, I mean, she in a way brought it on herself by making fun of this type of thing. Charlie reports Jill's death to Sam and Dean, of course. And they help get them into Jill's bedroom. On the back of her mirror, they find the name Gary Bryman. Research shows that he was a young boy killed in a hit and run, and a description of a car involved Jill's car, which I had a couple questions about this. One was Jill and this young boy related to each other? Did she have a son? Did she just know him? Was he her brother? I don't really know. And two, was this like Bloody Mary type girl just going after people in Toyota Camrys? I don't really know. I just had a couple questions. I may just be thinking about it too much, but you give me that kind of description, I'm gonna kind of want to know something. I'm gonna ask some questions about it. At the Schumacher house, they find that the name Linda Schumacher inscribed on the mirror, which was the name of Stephen's wife, who died especially after a sleeping pill overdose. Something that Donna ends up bringing up later, which I didn't really felt hit. It's just something that another character tells to somebody, especially, and I just didn't buy it, just because, you just told these two, people that are even impersonating police officer type people, that your mother died on a pill overdose. You don't really know these people, so why are you telling them this? I know that they want information, that kind of thing, and that's the gist of it, but I still didn't buy it. I feel like we could have maybe seen that life with, Donna, her mother, and Stephen before that, and showing her having that pill overdose, not just having her say it. It's something that it helps move the plot forward and not spending too much time around, which I get because they only have 40-minute episodes, but I would have loved to see, if we were going to go into some of their backstory, what happened to their mother, because we really don't see the mother throughout this episode, unless we're implying that the mother is this Bloody Mary type person, which I don't think it is. I think it's just someone named Mary that is throughout Indiana that's killing people and that kind of thing. So I would have loved to seen a little bit more from it, but that's just my personal opinion. Dean starts researching all the deaths of women called Mary, who died in front of a mirror, and finds the death of Minnie in Indiana, of Mary Worthington. The brothers Charlotte, Indiana, speak to the police detective who worked on her case. Mary was 19 when somebody broke into her apartment, murdered her, and cut her eyes out with a knife. Before she died in front of a large mirror, she tried to spell out her killer's name, but only managed to spell out the first 4 letters, which is Trea. A surgeon named Trevor Sampson was suspected, but nothing was either proven, and her murder went unsolved, which is crazy to me, that her eyes were cut out, and they really had no suspect in mind of who did this. All they can probably suspect is that it was this girl named Mary, because it's a common thing. Their eyes get cut out, there's blood dripping, she blames themselves for their deaths, and all that kind of thing is the whole theme for the monster of the week here. Although she was cremated, the boys postulate that Mary's spirit was trapped in the mirror, which they found to be recently sold into a shop in Toledo. Meanwhile, Donna and Charlie are in school bathroom, where Donna says Bloody Mary 3 times, which, again, why the hell are you invoking this? You probably heard about this death, about this Bloody Mary going around town. I don't know if this is their way they want to jokingly, see if this actually happens again. But if that's the case, why would you risk people you loved or people you know, like friends of yours, family of yours, on saying Bloody Mary 3 times and having them killed. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially given that there's probably already news about the family that died, somebody in this family that ended up dying around town. So why would you risk it? I would have been like, lay off of it. But distraught, Charlie begins seeing the figure in reflective surfaces. Distraught, she seeks out Sam's and Dean's help, of course. She had a boyfriend who once threatened to kill himself if she left him. She left him. He committed suicide. Sam and Dean remove all the reflective surfaces in their motel room so Charlie can stay there, which I thought was a smart move. I also would have loved to seen it if that was the only reason that this guy ended up killing himself, like Charlie's boyfriend or whatever ended up killing himself, or ex now I should say, was because that she left him, or if he just had a lot more mental health issues that were on the surface. I would assume there's probably more mental health issue on the surface because like killing yourself over a breakup, I get it's a theme, it's a common thing that happens sometimes, but I feel like there's more to it on the surface than just somebody leaving you. Like you would actually have to be pushed to the edge if you really wanted to end your life, and hate everything about it. I get maybe the idea was you were lonely and that kind of thing, and maybe he felt alone after she left and he just didn't feel like he had anyone else, even though you probably had like a mother, a father, or some sort of parent, or even a sibling of some sort. So I don't think he would have been alone. But again, I would have, at some questions I would have had, like, did he have people other than her in his life? Some things I would have fixed and added in the episode, but I get why, because they only have 40 minutes, like I said, to flesh out these stories and these monsters of the week. Sam and Dean decide that to destroy Mary, that they need to summon her. Sam offers to do it because she seems to be targeting people associated with deaths who keep secrets. Dean argues that his guilt over Jessica's death is misplaced and he's not keeping any secrets, but Sam says Dean does not know everything. This was where it all comes to a head, that the whole argument that Dean sees through Sam's lies about him having nightmares, that type of thing. I was wondering how Dean really would know everything that would have happened to him that night. He wasn't really in the room. He mostly was just there to recruit him. He doesn't know everything that happened, but I'm guessing that maybe as he got older, and maybe John, and like previously before they recruited him, he saw his mom suspended in the air like his dad did or whatever. So maybe he does know this type of thing. I don't really know. They don't really go into too much about that, but I understand the idea is like Dean's not stupid. He's dealt with these supernatural things before, but at the end of the day, he's just trying to make sure Sam's okay. So they obviously resolve this whole thing and this whole issue, and Dean goes along with Sam's plan to summon Mary. And this is where it all kind of comes to a head. Dean smashes the mirror, but Mary emerges from the frame, advances on Dean, and Sam. Finally, Dean shows Mary her own reflection, who accuses her of killing people, causing her to self-destroy. Dean smashes the mirror before she disappears. This kind of comes to a head a lot. It's also mentioned, it's also like around the time when Sam is also like smashing, or is like getting possessed by this Mary thing and saying that it's his fault about Jessica's death, that type of thing. And it's something he has to overcome and all that, which I do like, while Dean is kind of off, or in the streets, or off on the sidewalks in front of the store, getting distracted by cops that he has to punch out eventually to distract him. This was a really nice moment, but I also see why cops came to investigate Dean and all that, because he is somebody that has impersonated these types of people before. So it was only a matter of time. I wish there was more repercussions beyond just him beating himself up and trying to leave, but I guess that's the easy way out. He still is going to be on the run for a lot of his life. Something I'm just overthinking, but just something that happens, obviously, when you're impersonating these types of people. I did like the idea that this Bloody Mary thing affected Sam this episode a lot. Him beating himself over his girlfriend's death, I think, really worked. It's also like the idea of like, because I thought it was just going to be something that the monsters of the week, or like the people that this Bloody Mary girl was going after, was going to be dealing with, and them blaming themselves for their death. I thought that was just part of their whole identities and that type of thing, but it was more like they actually added it to where Sam kind of is brought into it, and it actually works for him with him having all the nightmares, that type of thing. But finally, the boys end up taking Charlie home. Sam tells her not to feel guilty over her boyfriend's death because it's something she couldn't have prevented. This is a nice little thing. Dean says to maybe take that advice as well, that he shouldn't beat herself up over it. It's something he had to learn, that type of thing. They both had personal tragedies happen to them that they need to get over, that type of thing. Dean asks what secret he is keeping from him about Jessica's death. And Sam just says that it's something that he can't tell him, which I'm curious to see what else happened, because all we saw is that she was suspended that night. I don't know if it's something personal, that maybe she just said to find him, or I don't really remember the pilot. I need to go back and rewatch that, but I was curious as to, is it something that's just more delved into later in the season, that Sam, had to keep a secret, that maybe Jess got a secret message to him before she ended up suspending and dying, or that type of thing. I don't really know, but it's something that haunts him from the day one, but it's something he has to keep personal to him, because he won't tell Dean everything, despite how much he loves him, despite how much he's his brother. There's just some things he has to keep personal to himself. But overall, I would say this episode I enjoyed pretty much. I would say it's on par with maybe the third episode. This was probably around that level of how much I enjoyed it. There's a couple things in the plot that I didn't work for me that could have been explained a little bit better, but overall, I would say I enjoyed this. I don't remember what I gave that last one. I'm going to say I think I gave it maybe like about an 8 out of 10. So I'll probably stick with about 8 out of 10 for this episode. So let me know what you guys think. What was your favorite and least favorite part of Supernatural Season 1, Episode 5? And if you enjoy the review, as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in the next Geek Reviews video. Peace.